Hello, welcome to the channel 12 Step Guide, or welcome back. My name's Troy. Today we are going to begin education on Step 2, Alcoholics Anonymous Step 2, out of the step book. Now, if you're in another 12-step program, this stuff should equally apply, as all 12-step uh, programs came from the original version and rely on that for content. So what I want to do is hone in on two specific questions. Rather than reading the whole book, I just at some point, what is step two? In the big book, the original big book was released in 1939. We'll do this in two cuts. The second part will be the step book, released in copyrighted 1952. So today, here's our questions. Number one, what is step two? Out of the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book into the original primary author, Bill W. When did Bill W. take step two? Now, I think that's an important question. I've touched on it before that I had been provided information that I thought maybe was inaccurate about when to take the steps from people. Maybe they didn't know it themselves. And so you're going to think for yourself, and I'm going to review the information with you, and you'll make a finding and certainly converse with others on this stuff. But I'll back up what I say, and if it's my opinion, I'm going to let you know that also. So why don't we start in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book? I've got the original version, so the pages are going to be different in the later color blue book. And so I'm going to be providing you the page from the original version. Anyway, how it works is chapter 5. We're going to dig right into step 2. So here are the steps we took, which is suggested as a program of recovery. So step 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Today we're learning about step 2. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Now, what's this step about? I believe it's about power. Now, why would I say that? If you look at step 1, we were powerless. But what are we saying in step 2? Power greater. Okay? This step is about power. I'm going to use an off-center analogy, an example, off-center example, to understand the concept of power, what we could be talking about here. So let's say self-will. This power that I'm speaking of is something external. It's not a power that comes from within us. So self-will, let's say we want to dig a hole, okay? And we're using our hands to dig the hole. And the rain comes and fills the hole back in with mud. And let's call that the relapse, okay? Or the event, whatever it is, whether it's your drinking or whether it's your codependent, someone come home drunk, whatever it is that got filled back in. Now, this power that I speak of in its simplest form, we got a ways to go here, so bear with me, okay? We got a ways to go to conceptualize, to fully understand what's being said between the big book and the step book, okay? Because there was the first 100, some of them were, I'm going to say, militant in their concepts of higher power, and but Bill had some problems with that. We're going to look at that today also. So anyway, for now, bear with me. So the power, let's call in this occasion, is a shovel, right? At some point, you say, this is bullshit. It's not working for me. Step 1, I'm going to go get me a shovel. right? That's step two. So in its simplest form, that's the power. It's an external source. What might be the shovel be? Maybe it's the books. Maybe it's 12-step meetings. Okay, and it's certainly more than that. God. We're going to visit quite a range. So the second part of that, that I'm going to read it all again, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. What is sanity? What's he mean by that? Sanity, the opposite of that is insanity. Now, this is a temporary condition. Insanity can be a temporary condition, you can recover from it. Whereas crazy is a permanent condition. For example, you can't recover from it. So someone is suffering temporary insanity. What might that look like? Oh, I can drink in safety, or he's going to be honest this time. He'll, do, or she or whatever. They're going to be better this time. So, but what does Bill have to say about it? Just some color, right? I like to back this stuff up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to step 10 in the big book. We're only going to operate out of the big book today, the first 100. This was the book. This was the program. This was the only program in literature to operate from at that time. The second part of this, we're going to see what evolved 13 years later. So anyway, in this is the original book, page 97, into action. Okay. Step two isn't an action step. An action step is somewhat outward. Step two is an internal step. It's some thinking. It's happening in it's your belief system. We'll look at that a little bit deeper. Anyway, second paragraph down. So this is answering a little bit about the sanity or insanity. And we have ceased fighting anything or anyone, even alcohol. So this we're going to talk about alcohol today, teaching out of the AA Big Book. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. Doesn't mean a craving couldn't come, but it just doesn't add up to anything anymore. It simply doesn't. If I haven't had a craving for liquor in years, but hey, you know what? A TV show could come on, they crack something on a commercial, some brief thing because they're trying to make it look good. It adds up to nothing. For by this time sanity will have returned. We will seldom be interested in liquor. If tempted, we recoil from it as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and will find that this has happened automatically. So it goes on, there's more, but I just wanted to touch on that it has, in this case, something to do with how we perceive alcohol, how we behave. Whatever our primary issue is, how we behave around it, something's changing about our perception. So, and now look at that sanity. That's a result of doing the higher steps. That's not a result of something that's happening in step two. You make some, you come to some understanding. You got to move on if you want the sanity to return, arguably. So now we're going to come back to chapter 5, how it works, and we're going to visit the next piece of step 2. So on the next page, again, the original book, 72, halfway down, a description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A is step 1, that we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. B is step 2, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. Now, there's a shovel, or something far greater than that, of course. God, a shovel, just examples. So, in C, that God could and would if he were sought. Now, what is God? I'm going to touch on step 3 for a second here because I think it's important. He clarifies something. God as we understand him. So, for you, God is your understanding of them. And we're going to see Bill, what happened here in a minute with him, how his understanding was. So I want to point out that these appear to be written together as if they maybe were or could be taken together. So, what was Bill's experience on this? Is it possible that step one and two could be taken together? I was told that 40 years ago to just stay on step one or for a year, or maybe do one, two, and three in the first year. So, what did Bill do? That's the question. So, to discover that, we're going to go over to Bill's story. And we're going to start now, him and Ebby T. Ebby T's 2 months sober. He's called Bill on the phone, and he's come over to the house. Bill answers the door, and what's the first thing? Bill looks at him, and he says, you know, I've got religion. That's what Ebby T tells Bill. Bill's probably thinking, well, gee, why didn't you tell me that on the phone? We could have cleared this up quick. Anyway, a couple more paragraphs down, more conversation. Bill's observing him. Now, Bill's observing something now. Ebby T's was a drunken disaster. But he did no ranting. So Ebby T isn't ranting. In a matter of fact way, he told how two men had appeared in court persuading the judge to suspend his commitment. They had told of a simple religious idea and a practical program of action. That word action is important now, the action part of this program. That was 2 months ago, and the result was self-evident. It worked. So Ebby T's 2 months sober. He's in some action program. It must have been humbling for him to be at the court. They were going to put him away. And that was going to be that. And these two guys managed to convince the judge something was working. Something could work for him. He had come to pass his experience along to me if I cared to have it. I was shocked, but interested. Certainly I was interested. I had to be, for I was hopeless. Bill was hopeless. He talked for hours. Now, remember now, Bill's at home, been on a bender for days. He's half drunk. Okay. He talked for hours. Childhood memories rose before me. I could almost hear the sound of the preacher's voice as I sat on still Sundays way over there on the hillside. There was that proffered temperance pledge I never signed. My grandfather's good-natured contempt of some church folk and their doings, his insistence that the spheres really had their music, but his denial of the preacher's right to tell him how he must listen, his fearless as he spoke of these things just before he died. These recollections welled up from the past. They made me swallow hard. That wartime day in old Winchester Cathedral came back again. Now, I had always believed in a power greater than myself. I had often pondered these things, so Bill's pondered these things. I was not an atheist, so he believed in some organized power out there at minimum. He didn't believe there was nothing. Few people really are. For that means blind faith in the strange proposition that this universe originated in a cipher and aimlessly rushes nowhere. My intellectual heroes, the chemists, the astronomers, even the evolutionists, suggest vast laws and forces at work. Despite contrary indications, I had little doubt that a mighty purpose and rhythm underlay it all. So, and this is back 1939. And how could there be so much of precise and immutable law and no intelligence? Question mark. I simply had to believe in a spirit of the universe who knew neither time nor limitation, but that was as far as I had gone. So we're going to jump down a little bit. But my friend sat before me, and he made the point-blank declaration that God had done for him what he could not do for himself. His human had failed. Doctors had pronounced him incurable society was about to lock him up. Like myself, he had admitted complete defeat. There's Bill's step one. It's the only place that he admits it that I could find. Then he had, in effect, been raised from the dead, suddenly taken from the scrap heap to a level of life better than the best he had ever known. Had this power originated in him? Obviously, it had not. So there's that power he's looking at. He's observing EBT and this power. Something's changed in him. There had been no more power in him than there was in me at that minute, and this was none at all. This step two. That floored me. It began to look as though religious people were right after all. Here was something at work in a human heart which had done the impossible. My ideas about miracles and drastically revised right then were drastically revised right then. Never mind the musty past. Here sat a miracle directly across the kitchen table. He shouted great tidings. I saw that my friend was much more than inwardly reorganized. He was on a different footing. His roots grasped a new soil. Despite the living example of my friend, there remained in me the vestiges, feelings, of my old prejudice. The word God still arose a certain antipathy. He was a bad taste in his mouth. When the thought was expressed that there might be a God personal to me, this feeling was intensified. It really pissed him off when people pushed that theme. I didn't like the idea. I could go for such conceptions as creative intelligence, universal mind, or spirit of nature, but I resisted the thought of a czar of the heavens, however loving his sway might be. I have since talked with scores of men who felt the same way. So sometimes there's other things going on. Bill had been in the war. There was a lot of questions about God and people's interpretations. Now, this is very important, this next now, because the question, when did Bill take step two? So here goes. My friend suggested what then seemed a novel idea. So now we're on the original book 22. He said, and this is in squiggly, so you know it's important information. Why don't you choose your own conception of God? So choose your own conception. And now we're starting to touch on step three. That statement hit me hard. So this is Bill speaking. It melted the icy intellectual mountain in whose shadow I have lived and shivered many years. I stood in the sunlight at last. Another squiggly. It was only a matter of being willing to believe in a power greater than myself. Nothing more was required of me to make my beginning. I saw that growth could start from this point. Upon a foundation of complete willingness, I might build what I saw in my friend. Would I have it? Of course I would. Bill Wilson was drunk at the table when he took step two. He took step one and two in the same short period of time. I guess I want to. We're gonna hold that part there. I want to touch on a different subject a little bit. You know, if at this point you can embrace even the power of the meetings, that is sufficient. I'm gonna. I'd like to challenge some thinking a little bit. Maybe there's a lack of belief. Maybe there's some anger out there. Maybe there's just haven't put much thought into it. Now Bill touched on scientists and doctors and some of that in the step book. He gets into the primordial ooze and maybe the single cell. I don't know where all this came from. Well, let's start with childbearing. How about we do that? So I've been constipated a couple of times, but this childbearing business, that's quite a different story, you know. Now what? You come walking out of there ready to chop wood, maybe help out in the kitchen. That's not it at all. You come out of there powerless, helpless, pissing and shitting, right? And crying, "Mommy, I'm hungry, Mama." And someone else is having to cover the deal, right? You've been here before. It wasn't your choice. That's where I'm going with this personal powerlessness. You've been here before. This time it's different. You have a choice. But as a human race, I don't know where we came from. We need others to survive as a youth. Does it follow that maybe we're stronger together when we're older if we make that simple choice? How about another concept? Let's visit, say, the universe. Again, Bill opened this stuff up. I've pondered it a little bit here and there. So, the universe, maybe it goes on forever in all directions. What does that look like? Maybe you could tell me in the comments, because, when I try to envision that, I don't think I'm capable. I don't think any human is capable. I've had scientists pick some point in history, fixed point, and then tell me all about it. But I had questions. It's this part that I don't know anyway. So what? The universe goes on forever? Okay, it doesn't. It stops somewhere. Well, what does that look like? Nothing. No light. No dark. No substance. Right? Describe that to me. I can't. I don't know what nothing looks like. Absolutely nothing. And when did this begin? Has it been here forever? What does that look like? Where did this come from? I don't know if where did we come from? There's some I don't have answers to these questions, but the concept that I think Bill elaborated to it in its minimalist format, right? We're contemplating agnosticism at this point. Okay, what am I saying? An intelligence out there, a simple intelligence that it appears that whatever is happening, that we are evolving, that we are getting stronger, that we are improving. So I offer this as there's a whole lot we don't know. And there's some tools out there to help us overcome this barrier that's standing in our way. And true humility, right? We're starting on the second part, who and what we really are, identifying the problem, followed by an honest and sincere attempt to become what we could be. We're starting the transition. What could we be? The possibilities within the individual. And I know I've been sober 38 years, and my goodness, there's a marked difference in me when I'm drinking and when I'm sober and what I can do. And look, I had some tough starts growing up. It'll come out here a little there. It took me a while in the program to clear out some of that stuff, but I could have cleared it out a lot faster had I been known. I had no reason to stay on step one or two. When I come out of treatment for the last time, 28-day program, I knew damn well I was an alcoholic. I was saying it in the meetings, and my life was unmanageable. So what? Stay on step one after that? There wasn't anything there for me. I had no problem with the God concept. Hey, I remember 18 driving down some back road, it's snowing, and I voice in my head coming up on some light that's green, stop the car. And it's like I just stopped the car, and then some truck shot through a red light. I remember to this day. I choose to remember those things. These aren't everyday occurrences, but for me, whatever it was, it sure left an impression. I didn't have a problem with these things, so for me to have moved on it, but I was told 40 years ago, you stay back there, from people who didn't understand it themselves. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. That's not my message. I'm trying to back up the material. I'm saying for me, or if you can move on, do so. The answers are in the higher steps. Bill Wilson was drunk at the table with every tea, did 1, 2 that first night. And we're going to visit step to in the step book next, because there's the connection. We got to connect this together now. Bill's learned some things, and he, we're going to find out the evolution of it. Okay, it's about God, but it's about more than that. Does God speak through people? I think that's reasonable. Whether you believe in God or not, is it reasonable that people, they got you into this life and they helped you get started? Maybe they could help you some more. I hope you found this helpful, and have a nice day. Thank you.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when new content is added. Also, you can support the channel 12-Step Guide with Troyo by donating through PayPal to hsworldservice@yahoo.com. Thanks for listening. In AA, we often hear one day at a time. At the boyhood home of Bill W. in East Dorset, Vermont, on a mantle is a framed message with more information. It says, "The best thing about the future is that it comes one day at a time," signed Abraham Lincoln.